Back in March, we were in a clear boom of the hobby. Prismatic Evolutions was just out. Everybody was going nuts. Scalpers were on the rise, and it looks like they're making a return with some more prismatic releases that are happening at Sam's Club, at least here in the States. Meanwhile, we've seen things cooling off quite a bit, and other things taking off even still. It's hard to know where we stand today at the end of July, or toward the end of July rather, and it's a little confusing. So what I say is, if it's going up, you might want to hold. If it's going down, you might want to watch it to see if it's time to pick up. Today is Sunday, where we do our Sunday slip and we look at those things that are coming down in price. Let's dive in. This week I went with a spaghetti against the wall approach, and we'll just see what sticks. I kind of went through a TCG player, just grabbing almost at random some things that stood out to me, and I found, you know what, let's take a look where they are. Some I've looked at even pretty recently, and others I haven't paid attention to for a while, so they were a bit of a surprise. Let's jump into this first one of Greninja EX out of Twilight Masquerade. Now, for a long time, I was just annoyed at how fast this one was growing and going, and then it just seemed to be the new norm these days, so it kind of gave a little more grace to Greninja EX being such an anomaly last year. But right now, it is cooling down quite a bit, and it has been for a while. Interestingly enough, pretty much since the boom. It took its spike up, and then it's just been on a downward trend ever since, and even beyond where it had been previously for a while, in that 300, 330 range, and we're already coming down to now 266 on market, and the lowest listings are pretty close to that. Reshiram EX, this is brand new, right out of White Flare, and I don't know if people are pulling these. I haven't seen a lot happening in the way of the Reshiram, the Zekrom, or the Victini, but these BWRs are not getting pulled quite easily, at least. At least that's what I've been finding from my own viewings and the different Reddits I've been reading, and different things I've been following on Instagram and X and all that stuff. I haven't been seeing a lot of these getting pulled, so we'll have to see what happens in the next few weeks. But for now, it did come down from its crazy FOMO price, but not by much, because they don't exist, right? I mean, it came down to that 468, and then it just started climbing back up. I mean, we're sitting at 477, but even our lowest listings are 450. I don't know if there's damage or something. No, maybe they're just looking to get it done. And then we're almost at the 500 mark after that, in the 490 range, getting pretty high up there. So we'll have to see how that one plays out with White Flare, Black Bolt. Obsidian Flames booster box. Interesting to see any booster box coming down these days, because some, even more recent than Obsidian Flames, are still going up. It's almost to uncomfortable levels for quite a few of these. So while I think booster boxes are one of the best investment pieces you can get, I have not gotten a booster box since Surging Sparks. So I don't have Journey Together. I don't have Destined Rivals. I don't have any of those. And I don't know if I'll be able to get them. We'll see, just because the price is already a little bit too far for me as far as even an investment piece. I know over time it'll probably go up and all that great stuff, but right now, not putting into it. Back in May, we were at 250 on this box, and now we're coming down to 227 recently here. Interesting how Obsidian Flames has played out for the life cycle of this set. It wasn't a hot set when it came out. It just was not. But I think that Charmander promo, once we got Stellar Crown, started showing a lot more promise. The big boom, you had a lot of people who weren't familiar with this, seeing a Charizard set every year or every couple of years, and they dove headfirst into Obsidian Flames. Good pull rates. I'd like to see some pull rates like that. I think that was a complaint at the time of people saying, oh, it's too easy, so it's kind of boring. You know what? We need an easy one every once in a while, just to enjoy the hobby in a different way, because pull rates now are just so terrible. Even on good sets like Black Bolt and White Flare, the pull rates on all the higher pulls, they're the same as Temporal Forces. They're the same as these recent sets. And nothing is as bad as Prismatic Evolutions. What a miss, Pokemon. What a miss to have such a crazy boom in the hobby and miss out on doing it well on that one. Ethan's Ho-Oh out of Destined Rivals. This is my pick, so maybe that's why I'm a little bit more gravitating towards it. But the price is coming down here at that FOMO hype from when it released, and it's just kind of been leveling off, a little up, a little down. 147. Looks like recent sales are a little bit lower than that. 142, 140 range, 140, 140, 141. So a little bit lower than the market price suggests, and even some listings are showing right around there, or even a little bit lower depending on the shipping calculated. It's about that same spot on price of where we've seen those recent sales. Squirtle out of Stellar Crown. If you remember this, not too long ago, this was a crazy price of $80, and that was, what, 6 months ago? And now we're down to $54. It's just been a downward trend for the Squirtle out of Stellar Crown. I think it's still the chase card of the set, which means Stellar Crown's a pretty easy set to complete, and it's one I kind of have on my radar because it is fun to master a set once in a while. So I'm looking at this going, how many singles do I need to get it done? Because it wouldn't take much, and the high price point of $55, it gives it a chance of being fun for a change, and it's not a very big set. Like, there's a lot going for it in the way of, if you'd like to master a set, this might be one that you want to pay attention to. The Mega Garbodor EX. I wanted to pull a Mega out just to see where things are at, because I know for a little while there, in the early whispers of Mega Evolution, that we were going to see some crazy booms on some of these Mega cards, these older ones, and of course, we did. I mean, it went wild, but again, we were in a boom for everything. So any little rumor, any little hype around any facet of the hobby just went off with an explosive force here at almost $120 there, and now it's recovered a little bit down to 81. But if we take it back a year, I mean, this was a $21 card. This wasn't something that people were paying attention to or had on their radar. But the reality is, anything Mega got the clout in those rumors, and now that it really is truly coming, they're going to retain some of that value. So yeah, while it's downward now, it's insane compared to a year ago. And this isn't even from a typical Mega set. This is out of Generations in the Radiant collection. So it's like a subset of Mega, you know? So you gotta look into these a little bit further. I think a lot of the Megas are doing even more a higher performance than this. But interesting to see how much growth has happened here, even though I'd say in recent times we're kind of in a downward trend on this particular card. The Victini here out of White Flare. Someone had written a comment saying that there's actually going to be two Victinis because the numbering is different between White Flare and Black Bolt. Is that true? I didn't look into it. I'm betting that it could be. That would make sense that it could be. It would make more sense to me if they ended up having the numbering match between sets and have them land in the same spot, and then not say White Flare, but just the BWR promo here or something, you know, just to kind of separate it, that it could be interchangeable. But I'm thinking they are set specific. And does that mean if you really wanted to master this whole series here, you'd have to get two of them, one for each set? I think so. And we do have a bit of a fall off on the very few sales here. Very early to tell on this. It just came out, right? So $500, and then you come down and we're still at $500. All right, I'm being too generous with my leniency. $512.50, $512.07, and now $508.83. All right. There is a listing for under $500, just to start pulling this down a little ways here, and the sales history actually suggests that it's kind of right on point here. $498, $496. That's a light play. We have a $520 with a photo, $545. So it's come down a little bit. I read those in reverse order, I guess, but it comes down a little bit there, and it's still trying to tick down just slightly. But while it's new, people are going to want to take that money if they can get it on a card like this, probably knowing it won't sustain at $500 for very long. Roaring Moon EX out of Paradox Rift. If you're looking to get into another set, start looking at Paradox Rift. Some of these have come way down. Really interesting to see just in the past half a year here. $62.93. Now we're down to $40 on. And some of the listings are lower than that. $38, $38, $38. Little shipping on there. $39.99. Okay, we're right at $40. Just at $39 for a handful of these. Might be worth going to get some of these SIRs from Paradox Rift, Twilight Masquerade, that kind of era, just because the fact that the focus has shifted so much, there's been a lot of room for these to fall out of grace. Charizard EX out of 151, not the first pick you'd go to out of 151, but it is the highest price full art out of 151, and we've seen that it's been coming down over the past 6 months. Again, just kind of following that boom trend, February, March, and it's just been trickling down, which is fantastic for anybody who wants to complete such an awesome set like 151, me included. I have a few cards to go yet, and I've been watching, and it just keeps going down, so I'm kind of holding out on the last few I need. They're not even high price cards, but you want the best deal you can when you're building a set, so that way it can all go up in value together. I have a video coming soon where I'll finally get to completing that. Maybe it's gonna be a while, another few weeks, as I try to get these last few in hand for a good price here. But for the Charizard full art out of 151, we're sitting at $24.50 right now, and lowest listing showing $20, but you have $5 shipping, so right on point with the market value there. Prismatic Evolutions, it's kind of nice to see anything prismatic coming down, and with another surge to the market with all these ETBs coming out through Sam's Club, which they don't do it often, so they totally flopped from what I can tell on the release. They just said, sure, buy it by the pallet. Who cares? We don't care. We got our money, and they're moving on. So there's fights. There are people freaking out. There's long lines, and 3 people get everything. It is just absolutely horrific what's happening on this set. And even still, Costco learned that they started limiting. Target has learned that they've started limiting. GameStop learned they started limiting. They're not even doing a lot online. Like, a lot of these different storefronts have learned these lessons over the past few months here, past 6 months or so. And Sam's Club did not. They didn't even pay attention. They don't care. And it kind of ruined it for everybody because the very few got all of them. So scalpers win again. Good job, Pokemon, for having a good system in place. This really could come from the top down. This really could come from the top down. That Pokemon Company says, no, you have to sell them at a limited quantity or you're not allowed to sell them in your store. The end. And move that through the distributors. We will not give you the allocation if you're going to sell to a store that can't follow this simple rule. You know, you could easily just put a little bit of enforcement that they're no longer a viable option to be selling their product. They have a little bit more pride than that, than to just have it wasted in these situations. So they could do that. Would they do that? Of course not. They talk about massive reprints. Nobody sees it. They talk about how they're changing things up and they're going to, increase all of the output, and it doesn't happen. And then the scalpers keep coming and they don't really care. And the distributors are raising their prices and there's no restrictions. It's just the Wild West in Pokemon. So have fun. Everybody be ready to fight if you're going to Sam's Club, I guess. I have a membership. I was thinking about going and I just completely opted out after the first few dozen posts I saw coming all over the place, not from one location, but from many, that this is how Sam's Club is handling it. So, am I bitter? Sorry, maybe a little bit. I actually don't care. What I do care about is the Prismatic Evolutions accessory pouch special collection going down in price, and pretty steadily so. From that release time, it was in the $55 range. Now we're down to a $45, and it's just been a jagged, staggering, downward trajectory, a little up, little down, but overall the trend is downward on this one. So interesting to watch that happen on this little 5-pack bundle here in an Eevee face for a bag. But good to see that the prices are coming down a bit across the board on some of these things in the hobby. And what's the best price of all if you could do it without stealing? Free. Free is the best price. And that's why I'm giving away this 3-pack blister of Evolving Skies, absolutely free. We need to reach 6,000 subscribers, at which point I'm giving away this 3-pack blister. All you got to do is go over to this video here, leave an additional like and an additional comment on that video, and I will select not just one winner, but actually 6 winners, because I'm giving away 5 Pokemon mystery card lots as well for 5 additional winners, just to spread the love a little bit. And I'll be picking out all those 6 winners once we reach the 6K sub line there. All you got to do is be a part of the channel, like, comment, and subscribe, and do those other things with the other video and all that. I do post 7 days a week. And with that, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.